I don't think we're getting back to normal anytime in the not too distant future. 5:53 our time here on Houston's Morning News. Paul Krause joins us, political writer. We are basically moving from crisis to crisis to crisis, Paul, and I guess that's by design, don't you think?
Yes, it absolutely is. Good morning to you. Great to be on your show.
Okay, so at any point will we be allowed to get back to normal, and what is the point of keeping us in constant crisis mode?
I think the reason why we're in constant crisis mode is for essentially the government, our bureaucracies, and our non-familial family, non-religious, non-civil society organizations to continue to expand and grow in power, because the easiest way for government, NGOs, and these big corporate managerial institutions to grow in power is to have a crisis, because in a crisis, people are generally more willing, due to the fear injected into them, to surrender their freedom to these authorities who are supposed to protect us.
So we had COVID crisis. We're having inflation crisis. It's not just at the gas pump. We're talking earlier about groceries and what you can afford to pay for food. So ultimately, we just keep expanding the bureaucracies that start shoveling money that's worth ever less every day at people to try, so that we love government and then we can't get away from them.
Yeah, in some sense, I mean, a lot of our modern monetary theory is loosely based in the writings of John Keynes. Keynes gets a bad rap because he said, in times of crisis, the government needs to spend more money. Now, he meant that when he wrote that in the 1930s as only a temporary fix. But as often happens, people take that and then they take a temporary fix and they make it a permanent fix, because if we continue down this path of inflation, as you're talking about, and it's true, it's in every prices, it's everywhere, it's not just at the gas pumps, where are people going to turn to look to try to save them from these ridiculous prices? The government. And the irony with that is it's government policy that has brought us to this crisis.
Well, it is, and it seems to me the big loser is going to be the middle class, which is rapidly disappearing, and it's not middle class becoming upper class, it is middle class becoming more poor. Is that by design as well?
I think so. As you said, I'm a political writer. I'm trained in political philosophy. Interestingly enough, I'm also a graduate of Yale. So I met the next generation of American leaders. That doesn't always make me sleep well at night. And what you find in this idea of managerialism and bureaucracy, which is essentially the form and system of government that we've had in place now since FDR and the New Deal, is that it's not necessarily a hatred of the middle class, but there's this idea that the middle class needs to become stagnant. Because if you have an ascendant and vibrant middle class, then all the activity is with them, with their families, their institutions, in civil society. The freedom that individuals going back to the 1800s, like Alexei de Tocqueville, said, this is the real genius of America. Well, if you have a vibrant middle class instead of a stagnant middle class, who's the big loser? The governments, the bureaucracies, these managerial institutions. If the middle class is stagnant or even declining, government, bureaucracy, managers, they're the big winners.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Paul Krause, political writer, joining us on News Radio 740 KT.